Were you told that inflation was coming down? Well, it's been a while, and here we are today, still dealing with the same old thing. You're going to read the news, they're going to tell you that inflation is doing better. You don't have to worry, it's starting to slow down. And yet, at the same time, the Federal Reserve has one option, and that is to keep interest rates elevated, or else they got to explain themselves. In today's video, we're going to look at what happened with inflation. I'll show you the month over month changes. I'm going to give you an explanation as to what's going on between the year over year and the month over month. That's the big distinction. And then we have to look at some other detail of why is this happening in the first place? All of that and more. Let's begin. You came here for the truth, so let me unveil that for you. We'll look at inflation as a measure of the different prices, price inflation. That's what we talk about because that's what people experience. You could look at something like true inflation, all right? And they say, by the way, right now, 2.62% in the United States. Please, anybody out there, tell me that your inflation rate is 2.62%. Still, I am not agreeing with that. We can look at shadow stats, depending on the calculation, 1980s way, the 1990s way. These show a different stat. I like to take these numbers myself and actually start to price it out in terms of the services and the goods that I buy year over year over year. And when you do that, you generally don't find anything goes down. If it's something that's supposed to be temporary, like when the airlines put the gas tax on, oh, gas prices have gone up, oil prices have gone up, we need to put a little tax on. Yet the oil prices can go down into the negative, and you're still not going to get that. You're still going to have to pay that fee, of course. And so what we have right now is this weird, really strange dynamic. And that leads me to what I wrote about not that long ago. So here we have it. It's a video from August 11th, and it's about inflation just flipping. And so now we are here a month later. The new data has come out. But at that time, I wrote, on July 18th, 2023, I said on a month over month basis, we could start to see increases. Now it has happened as the favorable year over year effect is over. All right. And so that's exactly what we have. 2 months in a row, that trend has continued. Is it because, I happen to have access to information that's not out there, that's not known? No. If you're willing to accept the truth, then the information is there. But unfortunately, people are not. Look, it's better to sell you on something, to get you on a bandwagon, to tell you that, oh, you don't have to worry because you're going to get a 50% discount on your real estate. So just hang on, just wait. We can do that all day long, or we can simply accept the truth. If you choose to accept the truth, well, then you're in the right place. Hit that thumbs up if you do agree. That's what you want, if you want the truth. I'm going to show you this. Right here, the U.S. Consumer Price Index for August rose 3.7% from a year ago. And of course, we look at these numbers. Does it make sense, 3.7 for you? Maybe not, right? It all depends. The point here is that when we start looking at it and breaking it down, why are we in these circumstances today? Looking at the month over month, it increased. Yes, absolutely, 0.6%. When we look at it in terms of the year over year, certainly we are way down from the peak, but looking at this, it has started to come up multiple months in a row. And so that's what I talked about a few months ago. I told everybody. So anybody that was here, we knew this was happening, and I'm tracking this. And so those who are subscribed will get all these details as it comes around. I'm able to track and detail this information because I look at raw data. I do not watch any at all, any YouTube. I do not watch any newscast. I don't know any of them at all. I only look at raw data. This is very time consuming. This can be very tedious and boring. However, there is no bias to the data because I'm looking at it from all different sources. I'll get it from one part of the spectrum and the other. I don't care. I want raw data, and then I will make those decisions for myself, and I present that to you. Okay, look, you have the transparent transport drove most of the monthly CPI rise, okay? And that's where we are at right now. But I want to note something as well. Shelter is the biggest component of when we talk about inflation. Shelter makes up the biggest component. So a small change in shelter could have a dramatic impact on that. But in the short term, what we are seeing with the rise in gasoline prices was the one that certainly hit hard for a lot of people. I have a few points that I need you to know. Look, if inflation rises, which stocks will hurt the most? Can you take a guess? All right, and which ones will benefit? We'll talk about that in a second. I want you to know that the hope of inflation falling is all based on shelter. That's the long-term thing. We need the shelter CPI, how much it costs for your house in terms of rent, mortgage. These things need to fall in order for inflation to fall. Do you think that's going to happen? I know there's a lot of YouTubers making a lot of money talking about that. You tell me. I'm interested to hear what you have to say. Oil, major contributor to the volatility right now, and we'll talk more about that in a second. I want to show you it, in fact. Looking at this is the Fed's, one of their favorite indicators, looking at the CPI less shelter. So when you pull that shelter out, still rising month over month. And so, of course, year over year now, because that favorable year over year effect had gone away. They were trying to ride that as long as possible, but now here we are. And so this is just a breakdown of looking at inflation because, of course, it's made up in different components. Certainly energy was the one that has been increasing recently. And that inflation, by the way, is everywhere. It's not just the United States. I just want to make note of that. One extreme example being Argentina. Imagine you're worried about a 0.6% of your inflation, and in Argentina, the month over month is 12.4%. Argentina's annual inflation rate rose to 124%. That's just wild. And to think that I was making videos about Argentina years ago when the inflation rate was much lower, and I was maybe, let's say 15%, 20%. And I was saying, watch out, this thing is going to explode. Be very careful. Some were disagreeing. It is so obvious that once inflation goes, you can't stop it. It's off that cliff, and there's nothing else but gravity that's going to come and take that down. We need to look at what is the linchpin. What is that one key component? Fed on alert for one more hike after disappointing inflation. So, of course, the Federal Reserve, we've got this meeting coming up. Are they going to increase? Are they going to just wait it out? The markets were previously saying, no, they're going to wait this one out in September. If they do increase, markets, I'm telling you right now, are not going to like it because that means they're even further away from the cuts that they've been preying on. You're probably asking yourself, which stocks benefit? Which stocks are going to get hurt? I'm going to show you that in a second from now. Just understand that this is all hinging on the Federal Reserve's actions. Here we have the current oil price as I record this video. It is inching closer to $90 a barrel for WTI. And by the way, the spread in between WTI and Brent seems to have shrank over the last little while. The point here is oil, gasoline, these are something we just can't get rid of. And right now, that is putting the pressure on everything. Everything's moving one direction, whether it's short-term travel or longer term, it's got to move. And in this way, it's becoming more expensive to do so. Disinflationary hopes pinned on shelter CPI falling. Shelter's fall needs to accelerate to bring that headline CPI down. I really don't know about that and whether that's going to happen because have you seen rent prices? Have you seen the price of a home today? It's really not going down anywhere for the most part. And we see that some places it has risen from, this little dip that was experienced. I know we're being told about the Airbnb bubble. I know we are told about the fact that in some cases like Toronto, it's the biggest bubble in the entire world. But are you going to experience a major decline in the prices? It all depends on what happens with interest rates. And the way to exact the most damage is, of course, with inflation, not deflation, because the middle class and the everybody in the lower incomes, deflation is just going to help them. It's just going to help them. They're not going to be hurt by this. But the upper classes, the 1% and greater, they love inflation. They will only love it. And so we have to understand who the Federal Reserve really is. What about that truth? Are you willing to accept it? Most people aren't. Inflation reacceleration would narrow the tech versus energy gap. Okay, so very clear right now to see that tech stocks would be the ones to have potentially be hit the hardest under these circumstances. At the same time, energy could increase over time here if we got more gasoline, if we've got more increases in the oil prices, natural gas, what have you, then energy makes up a bigger component. Tech stocks would then be a little bit weaker as a result. Okay, so it doesn't mean they're going to crash. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, relative perspective here. So more money could flow into energy over the next little while, and actually it's been doing that as we go. I want to make it very clear, like, what can you do about all this? First things first. First things first, all right? Invest in the things that are going up in price. I know that seems so obvious, but that's what you've got to do. You got to understand this. You can't just look at the price of oil and say, all right, it's going up, gasoline's going up, I'm screwed. No, you can invest in that. If you think agriculture is going up, if you think anything is going to go up, you buy some of it because then it balances it out. Now, I'm not telling you to buy it. Okay, you got to look at this more fundamentally, and also maybe the technicals could play a role in that. But I'm just telling you, if you think something is going to go up, then buy in. People were telling, the YouTubers were telling people to dollar cost average at the same time, telling them the stock market was likely to continue falling. This is throughout 2020. People's portfolios, because they were going in, heavy on all these fun stocks, they were dropping by 40%, 50%, just all that money just being burned. If you knew that, why would you pour your money in at that moment? If you thought 1 month later the stock market would be higher, okay, sure, you put your money in. There's going to be ups and downs. But if you thought, okay, in a month from now it's going to be up, okay, you put your money in. You don't need to time it perfectly. That's not the way this works. I think people are just so confused. They're just listening to TikTok advice, and they need, like, which stock do I need to buy? But you got to tell me in under 7 seconds or else I can't pay attention. Dear. Buy in bulk, share with others to get today's price. If you thought something was available, at a later date at a higher price, why not buy it today? I understand there's only so much funds we have, but just think of that. Always think of that. Very important stuff. Understand the dynamics of trade. Partners are shifting, and that affects the supply and demand. Just a little example, for instance, if the United States is supplying oil or natural gas to Europe, but suddenly a new pipeline from Qatar is opened up to Europe, and that essentially solves the problem. They don't have to bring these flotillas of ships across the ocean. Well, then now there's less demand coming in this direction. So now the US has to find another buyer for that stuff. So watch that, pay attention to it, because it's going to affect the company's profits, and the supply and demand, of course, affects the prices in general. I hope you appreciate that for information. That's really good stuff, okay? Let me know. Let me know in the comments. I'm always reading your comments, by the way, every single day for many, many years. Of course, I wanted to mention now Compass is live. To anybody that is on Discord, Compass is live. Compass is where you will start your financial journey totally free. A breakdown. I have had nothing but positive reviews so far. All you got to do is get on the Discord. The link is in the description, and then you will get in under the announcements section. You're going to see the link for this. You click on it, you go in. There's no email required. There's no nothing. You just click on Discord, sign up to the Discord, get in free, click on Compass, go through there, and then at a later date, I'm going to open it up to the people on YouTube. But for now, if you want it, totally free, get in there, go on Discord. I'll see you there. And then the last but not least, the comment of the day, Rebecca was saying this. Control isn't by politicians or political parties. It's about corporations, CEOs, and the wealthy and powerful using dark money and lobbyists to buy legislators on all sides in the political system. Absolutely. You could see, Rebecca, thank you for that we have a system that is completely controlled outside of our understanding. It's not very obvious, but there's so many layers to this, and that's why you are here, because you love the truth. If you found this video informative, hit that thumbs up button. Of course, I'll see you tomorrow. Take care.